Hey everyone, this is Lamb here. I'm at MGP IO. I'm with the Master of Frequencies and Antenna, Alex Greve. How you doing, man?
Doing awesome today. Can't beat the day.
He's been out here playing with his wings, enjoying himself, and he has severely upgraded. I see like 30-foot pylons and gates. You can park like 3 cars underneath these gates. What have you been doing?
Well, if you run wings, you realize that quad gates are mighty small. So wings travel at much higher speeds. They aren't nearly as crisp. They're much more susceptible to crosswind. So you need a larger obstacle to go through. And the great thing is these are inflatable. So when a wing hits it, it sounds like a bass drum. So you hear this boom, and everybody just looks at the gate to watch the airplane spin out of control. And sometimes they recover. I actually hit a gate earlier today and recovered from it just fine. But the thing is because they're inflatable, they're soft. So usually the airplane survives unharmed. Sometimes when it tumbles to the ground could damage it a little bit. But usually when you ram the gate, it's okay. So we all like it. It's been a lot of fun. Of course, the pylons are the same way. We actually had an event recently. And everybody's watching this guy named Eric Novikov. He was coming into the pylon, and he hit it dead on the nose. The plane stopped, turned straight down, just slid down the pylon. It was hysterical. It didn't spin. It was like, just like brakes. You're done. And of course, it sounded like a bass drum. So everybody was just watching it, just like fly backwards for a second, then just scoot right down the pylon. 30
That's
feet
cool.
tall. It's awesome. It's a sight to see. We have really upgraded wing racing.
Yes, you have definitely upgraded wing racing. And speaking of that, I definitely saw your first event using these big toys in the Commonwealth Championships. Tell me a little bit about that.
The Commonwealth Games was something different. So it's been going on quite a while, and it's all different types of sporting events, including esports. And the WRA got the opportunity to run a wing race inside a football stadium at Liberty University, which... a football stadium isn't so bad for quads, but when you've got wings that are running anywhere between 60 and 120 miles an hour, you cover that football field in about a second and a half. So the track was quite tight. We had to use a lot of throttle management, but we put 3 pylons and 3 gates down there. So we had a nice chicane through gates and then several what they call an Immelman maneuver. So you do a half loop and then you roll out, and then of course we would dive to the next gate.
Oh yeah.
Everybody pretty much agrees the Immelman is a staple for wing racing, and that of course we had part of the course we went up into the grandstands. And then around behind their jumbotron, which was just a hell of a lot of fun. It was awesome. And the great thing is we had spectators, we had the news in there, so it was excellent publicity for FPV racing. And we're trying to showcase that not all drones are multi-rotor and camera ships. So some are race ships and some are fixed wing. So because the fixed wing is sort of forgotten about.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely fun to watch, and there were some really great videos out there, so definitely check them out.
Check out Nick Lang's video. It really gauges the spirit. You can see everybody's laughing and cheering and having a good time. And, I have never been a sports fan. I kind of watch football every once in a while, but I found myself cheering on the pilots, like shouting at the top of my lungs. And I don't do that. So it was very, very exciting, especially when you have heats in the finals. You had Vanguard and Hugo Salinas running neck and neck. Vanguard was running a spec wing bone stock, 65 mile an hour bird. Hugo Salinas was running a 95 mile an hour bird, but obviously Vanguard was more maneuverable. They were overtaking each other every single turn. And of course, when you hit the grandstands, that pusher prop just screams. So it echoed through the stadium. The sound was great. I mean, anybody who's a race fan or an aviation fan had their eyes glued to that. They didn't care about first place. They were looking at the battle for second. That was awesome.
That was really cool. And yeah, the live feed was pretty good, and I'm glad it was such a successful thing. Will you have it again next year?
Oh, yeah, next year, yeah, absolutely. We're going to change the track up a little bit, so it's not going to be the same track, but you're pretty limited in layout. But there were certain things we really liked. We really liked the grandstands and behind the jumbotron. We're going to keep that. We're going to keep our chicane. We're just going to move some gates around, I think.
Okay, sounds good. What about NAFPV? What were you guys doing up there?
So we did run NAFPV, and so that was the week after the Commonwealth Games, and it's up in Canada. It's mostly Canadian guys, but we wanted to show them a little love. So the Canadian guys. They are very, very different than the U.S. when it comes to their aircraft. They're much larger, much louder, and much faster. So it made for an interesting dynamic. We had a much, much longer and easier to fly course, but harder to fly clean. So it's a very competitive racing there. I actually crashed out on the course in sport class. And there was a guy looking for his plane in this cornfield, and mine came tumbling in not 15 feet from him. He's like, "I got your plane!" I hit the corn going at least 100 miles an hour. He said I took out about 8 corn stalks, and the plane was fine somehow. It was fun. And now we're here at IO. So. Here at IO, we have every single inflatable we've got. So if you look behind me, we have 3 pylons that are 8 feet at the base, and they're 30 feet tall, so they're huge. And so we have a Strix pylon, Ready-Made RC. They actually paid us for that one. And then the other 2 pylons are my company, Video Aerial Systems. So we have these out there. You get sponsorship, and the great thing is you can see the name of your brand out here. So you could see who supports FPV WRA. You could see Stone Blue Airlines, Strix, Ready-Made RC. We've got APC and TBRC over on that gate down there. We have Cobra. We've got Team Black Sheep. So, and the thing is, these logos on these gates are almost the size of a multi-rotor gate themselves. So, it's good advertising for them. And the great thing is these airplanes are great to watch line of sight. You don't need a set of goggles. In fact, I prefer watching line of sight. So it's good sponsorship. It's great racing. And, we've got 6 gates, 3 pylons out there. And most people here at the MultiGP event, they've told me the wing track stands out more just because the obstacles are much bigger, much more obvious. Of course, because the airplanes go faster, you need a bigger obstacle. So definitely. I love it. I've run these tracks, probably each track I've probably run 8 times, and I love it. I got a smile. I can't wipe the smile off my face.
Definitely. I love these pylons because when you make the turn now, it's easy to tell that wing made the turn correctly. It's going through all these obstacles really well. It's really fun to watch now because the flags are just too short, but these pylons are awesome.
Well, we even have 17-foot flags, and the problem is that in a turn a plane climbs, and there's just no way around it. So the pylons... if you don't have natural obstacles, the pylons are almost a must unless you're talking about mini planes, things in the 30-inch wingspan range. Then you don't necessarily need them, but you probably should have them.
Definitely. All right, let's switch gears. What's going on in the antenna world for you? What new stuff do you have? Because you always have new stuff.
I do. I decided recently that I was going to redo my entire antenna line, or at least everything I could. The helical is the only antenna that is not being touched right now. So... My goals had shifted when I came out with the Ion because everything was every antenna that I made was a do-it-yourself project. It was never really meant to be manufactured. And with the popularity of FPV, I needed to design something that was easier to manufacture. And so the Ion was the first, and of course I patented that. And it turned out to be an extremely high-performance antenna that I could sell at a competitive price made in the USA. If you look at a premium antenna, they're usually $20. You look at my Ion, and it's $17.99. And then the next one that came out was the Minion, or the Mini Ion, and that's $14.99 because that's even easier to make. It's nice and small, and again, those are the highest gain CP Omnis out there. So not only was I able to make them nice and small, and light and higher performance, but they're fairly inexpensive to manufacture. So I then have modified that technology a little bit, and at this event I've got pre-release here if anybody wants to buy them, the Ion V2, which is designed specifically for long-range aircraft and receivers. So whether it's a quad or an airplane, long range, and obviously long range is coming back in. And so it's the best performing antenna I ever designed. And then the other one that I've got is called the Switchblade. And the Switchblade, I had Trappy in my camper, and he had the bag for it. He's like, hot swap antenna, what's that? So we take a stock whip and we tune it in, and then there's a cap that snaps onto it that causes it to rotate. So it comes with a stock whip and a right-handed and left-hand circular cap. So when you come to a race and you don't know what polarization you're using, well, you just drop the cap on. You don't have to change everything out. It just makes it very, very easy, and surprisingly, it's a very, very high-performance antenna.
It's funny.
Yeah, because the stock whips are kind of junk you throw away. So don't throw them away, guys. I've got the solution for them. It's called the Switchblade, and a whip, specially tuned whip, and 2 caps is $16.99, made here in the States.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All of us have so many whipped antennas. I can probably go into a drawer and have like 200 or something
Well,
like
save
that.
them. You've got to save them because that Switchblade will turn them into a high-performance circularly polarized Omni.
That is awesome.
And guys, they've been running them down at the World Cup track, and they love them. They love them. So that's giving me a good feeling.
That's an awesome feeling, especially repurposing equipment that you have plenty of, and just they're just sitting around or he's thrown them in the trash before. Anything else in the antenna world?
Yeah, well, obviously I've got some other stuff I'm working on. The Mad Mushroom, everybody's favorite antenna. Well, we just stopped manufacturing that. It is no longer being manufactured. We now have the V2, which I am out here running on my personal airplane. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, and it is much higher performance. It covers down to the digital band, so if you're using the Connex, the Amimon, that works really well with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we really, the reason for redoing it wasn't, it's less expensive to manufacture, so that you're going to see the V2, the price is actually less than the current Mad Mushroom. So you're going to see the price drop because it's easier to manufacture. The performance is, I'd say it's maybe 15% better. It's not a huge improvement in performance, but you can cover the L band and the digital bands very, very well. And it maintains not only SWR, but axial ratio. So it maintains radiation pattern, and that's very unique. I have never seen another antenna that maintains radiation pattern outside, it's made for 5.8, that can go down to the L band and down into the digital bands that maintains circularity. So I'm really proud of it. So that'll come out. We have 50 made so far. We're a little short on manufacturing capacity because we actually had somebody just resign a couple days ago, and I'm really trying to get her back because she's an amazing employee. Her name's Michelle, so if you know Michelle Reed, beg her to come back. We really want. I know she's had some family trouble, but we told her we'll work with you. We want you back. We want you back at work. So we're kind of a family. So
yeah,
but.
Definitely.
We've also got some other stuff coming out. The 1.3 Pepperbox Extreme and Crosshair Extreme. So these are, the Pepperbox and the Crosshair is basically the highest performance patch style antennas available. Well, we now have the Extreme versions, which again cover the digital bands at 5.8, and they're higher axial ratio, higher gain, better performance. But the only problem is I haven't quite finished the 5.8 design yet. I am on revision 9. Now I'm out here. I've got revisions 3, 6, and 7 out here that I'm running personally. But the problem I'm running into is is mechanical damage. Even though it's a receiver antenna, the way I'm building them now, if I drop my goggles on the antenna, it's going to break, and that's not acceptable. So I've got to fix that. So I'm in the back plate. I'm embedding what's called a coplanar waveguide, so I can anchor the SMA direct to the antenna. And then the problem is the impedance mismatch is very difficult to deal with. So I'm playing with some shunt tuning and some other stuff to try to get it right. What I'm currently running is perfect, but there's that mechanical damage problem that I can't release until everything is right. And then the Pepper box, I'm pretty sure I have that one now. I have the mechanical strain. I've got the coplanar waveguides in there, and it seems to be right. I just need to do more testing before we start manufacturing it. So getting there. 1.3 was much easier. To develop something on a lower frequency is just a lot easier. So those are coming out. We currently have 25 Crosshair Extremes and 15 Pepperbox Extremes ready for order. We'll announce those to vendors, I guess, as soon as this event's over. There will be a 2.4. Again, I got to figure that one out. But 1.3 and 5.8 are our big frequencies. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on, and it's not just antennas either that we're working on.
Definitely. Well, as soon as a new product come out, we're definitely going to be excited to hear from it.
Well, you've seen a preview of something I wanted to have here, but unfortunately, problems. Laser
There's always
combat. Imagine taking quad racing and then mix it with Mario Kart, so you can shoot each other out of the air with lasers. I have the system working for airplanes in a do-it-yourself form. We're trying to refine it down to a product, and the end cost should be about $35.
$35. That's amazing.
So the way it works is you have two modes, battle and race. Battle is like World War II combat. Now, you got to understand, this is developed for airplanes. It works for quads, but in the initial form, if you're going to run on a quad, you need to go back to PWM. I can already hear your audience groaning. Because it was developed. So I've got to figure out how to make S-Bus work with it. Yes, it's on the horizon. I just have to get there. So what happens is in battle mode, after 2 seconds of gunfire, I take one of the servos on your aircraft and I take it out of trim. So it's like you have a stuck hinge or damaged airplane, so it'll roll or climb or something, so you know you've taken damage. And then after 5 seconds of getting shot, I take away your gun and I pulse the motor. And that tells you, hey, I've been shot down, but I don't shut the motor down so you can continue to fly. 10 seconds later, everything comes back, full health, and you go battle again. We also have indicators for when you're getting shot. So there are lights on the system that'll go out. So this is typically flown at night or dusk because it's hard to find your target during the day. If you've ever flown tandem with somebody, half the time you're going, where are you?
Right.
But at night, a single LED is very easy to see. Of course, we have entire light strips. So you're basically looking for a lit up target. So there's a lot more fighting and a lot less where is my target.
That's a lot more fun.
And so what happens when you land the shot, their lights go dim, but not completely out. So you can still see them, but you know you made the hit. And then their motor will go, like we just, so we actually step the motor. We reduce, we have take the motor down to a 90% duty cycle. So they lose a little bit of power, but you can hear it. They know they're getting hit. Plus, there's an adjustment that shakes the airplane. So if you're flying along and your airplane starts shaking, you know you're being shot. So plus the sound. So it's supposed to simulate World War II combat. But you throw the switch the other way and you get battle mode, or you get race mode. In race mode, all you have to do is instead of 5 seconds, it's 3/4 of a second. So if you can land a shot, if you can stay on target for 3/4 of a second, which isn't very long, then their motor will pulse and they'll have half power. They'll be limited to half power maximum for 10 seconds and then back in. Now, 6 seconds, not 10. 10 in battle mode, 6 in race. And the reason for that is if somebody's in front of you, you effectively shoot them out of your way, which I'm not a very good racer, so I'm going to do more shooting than racing. But the problem is you have to be good enough in 6 seconds to get far enough ahead. Otherwise, guess who they're lined up for?
Exactly. You'll be next on the list.
Otherwise, you have 6 seconds to get out of range, and they still have half throttle. So with a quad, that shake is adjustable, and that motor pulse is all adjustable. So a quad would do the exact same thing, and it wouldn't necessarily be out of control. So we can do that. But obviously, I'd like to go to S-Bus. It's just time. It's a time investment that currently I don't have. So
yeah, definitely.
It will work with quads, but they'll have to go back to PWM in the meantime. But we will figure out how to do this for S-Bus, and we look forward to doing. My goal for next year is, I don't know if you were here last night for the Tiny Whoop event, and then there was a night race. Now, granted, the Tiny Whoop was awesome, especially with that warp gate. Like, it got us drooling. We got to do this for wings, and we haven't quite figured out how we're going to do it yet, but that was cool. So, but the night track, we want that to be battle. Not race at night, but battle. Like you pick up a quad, you shoot each other off the track. So that's what we want to see here next year at I/O, and hopefully we'll get this system ready by then.
All right, cool. So I'm guessing that this year you're not going to be selling the unit. You're still going to be prototyping it all the way through.
By the end of this year, we hope, it might be aggressive, but we're trying to get the airplane unit out by Christmas this year, so you can order it for the Christmas holiday. And like I said, it's a 30 by 30 board, so it'll drop right on top of your multi-rotor frame. It's just you have to go back to PWM. So if you're okay with PWM, go for it. S-Bus development, I don't have a time frame on it. I really don't. I don't know anything about S-Bus, so it's learning from scratch.
Yes, that's definitely hard. Well, hopefully somebody will help you out. There's an aggressive community of programmers out there. Maybe somebody will help you out with it.
If you can help me with S-Bus, I would really appreciate it. Please get a hold of me and help me integrate this. I will pay you for it. I will very happily pay you for it because I am not a programmer. I actually designed this thing myself. I've programmed it myself. I've learned so much about programming, and the number one thing I learned is how much I don't know about programming. The entire code is on one page, and it was starting to get so long, and one of my buddies looked at it and said, "Why don't you just call a function for battle?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I should do that." I cut the code in probably like a factor of 3. But I'm just not that good. But I had a goal. And I achieved it.
Accomplished it. Yeah.
And there's no latency. There's no latency with the battle system. It's a straight pass through. So yeah, I was able to do this with 0 latency because all it does is as it uses an interrupt command with what comes through, and it simply passes that through unless you're in the damage state. Then it delays for a moment, then sends a command through simulating damage.
Simulating damage. Awesome.
Yep.
Hey, Alex, great talking to you. If anybody wants to reach out to you, where can they reach out to you?
So you can reach out to me. I'm Alex Greve on Facebook. Video Aerial Systems is my antenna and airplane site. And then my other business is FPV WRA. That's FPV Fixed Wing Racing Association, or I should say Wing Racing Association. If you want to try some serious high-speed racing, pick up a spec wing. They're cheap. They're fairly easy to run, and it's the most competitive racing you'll ever know. And instead of you'll be threading bigger gates, but you're going to be doing them at a much higher speed.
Oh, you know what? Before we end this, then 2019 of FPV WRA. Any forethoughts on what's going to happen?
So we've got a couple things planned. But the big thing is we're going to introduce the battle class. That's that laser combat system, and it will be the plane we will run is the WRA Valkyrie, and the plan is to sell it for $125 for the kit with the laser combat system with it. And this airplane's built like a quad. All the electronics are in a centralized pod that's bolted in with 2 nylon bolts. And the reason for that is when the airplane crashes, and it's trust me, you're going to crash. There is no such thing as a race plane that doesn't crash. Those nylon bolts shear off, and the pod with all of your electronics ejects out of the airplane. And what the point of that is that the foam, the part that's damaged, now doesn't have nearly as much weight. And so it won't be damaged, or at least will be damaged significantly less. The other side of it is when you completely destroy the airplane, well, you pull the pod out, you build a new airplane in an hour, you bolt the pod in, you're ready to fly. So we could go from a completely destroyed aircraft to back in the air in an hour. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's the idea behind it. I'm really, really looking forward to that. I was hoping to introduce that this year, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Well, you know what? It's something to look forward to next year, and it's right around the corner. Plenty of new antennas to check out for the Christmas season, so you're going to keep yourself busy.
Oh, I am.
All right, cool. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, wife.